Welcome to Conquest Creations, and today we have a very special video for you. We are playing a Siege of Rohan using the Kingdom of Saxonia terrain. This terrain has been sculpted by myself as well as two other sculptors, and we're so excited to bring it out to you live now on Kickstarter. You can get this whole entire set as STL files to 3D print. Now in this game we have a horde of 60 Uruk-hai with 3 demolition teams, a battering ram and 3 captains laying siege to the city. They're going to be held off by a defense force of 30 Rohan warriors on the walls who are accompanied by a king's huntsman, a captain and Aldor. Inside the city, Theoden and his royal guard, as well as Hammer and Gambling, are defending the Golden Hall, and there's some scattered defenders throughout the city. Let's get into this game.
I'm Ben, I'm General of the Uruk-hai Legion for this siege, and the Uruk-hai are feeling like they want to crush some Rohan skulls tonight.
I'm Jeremy, I am the Grand Commander of the Edoras Defenders. I'm going to defend these walls to the last.
G'day folks, I'm David, Commander of the Rear Garrison here at Edoras. While Jeremy holds the wall with his, broad shields and stout courage, I'll be coming in later to back him up with basically hordes of infantry. I'm not worried, the walls will hold.
I'm Sam, and I'm part of the Uruk-hai team today, and we're ready to mince some men.
One of the things that the defenders don't know about yet is that the Wildmen of Dunland have infiltrated one of the buildings in the city, and they're going to be rushing out in turn 3. To help them get over the walls, the Uruk-hai have brought a bunch of siege ladders. Now to get over a wall, you need to climb up the siege ladder, win your fight and kill your opponent, and then you'll take their place on the wall. This terrain has been designed to be as interactive as possible, so if a bomb team gets to the wall and does 6 wounds to it, then that wall will be destroyed completely, and you can replace the wall section with a destroyed wall section, which comes as a part of the STL files in the Kingdom of Saxonia. This is going to allow the defenders to rush through and pillage the cities of Saxonia. There's 5 objectives in this game. The Uruk-hai want to claim the walls, meaning that they remove all Rohan warriors from the walls. They also want to claim the city section, meaning that there's no Rohan left in the streets. They also want to claim the Golden Hall, kill Theoden, and kill 50% of the Rohan. If Rohan can prevent 3 of those from happening, then they'll win the game. This game's going to go for 12 turns, and on the 12th turn, there's a roll. On a 4-up, the game continues each turn. And with that, the game is ready to begin.
Turn priority. Ooh, Ghost the Isengard.
Alright, so let's see this Uruk-hai horde advance. And turn 1 movement for the Great Siege. Now, honestly guys, this turn was not that surprising. All these Uruk-hai are just pushing forwards and putting their ladders up on the walls, so next turn, if the Rohan don't push those ladders down, they'll be able to send troops up. And here you can see how many ladders are going towards those walls, and importantly, we have the battering ram making its slow advance towards the gate. That battering ram should be able to knock the gate in no time, which is going to make a big difference. And just look at this horde of Uruks.
So here I have some models touching these ladders. I'm going to move as many as I can in base contact with them, and then I'm going to get a single die roll with some bonuses to try and push these ladders back down on the face of the Uruk-hai. So here I'm going to have one here, 1 support, and then this one's going to go do the pushing. So that'll be a 2+ bonus, and it will be a success. So that ladder is back down.
And on top of the walls, a lot of the troops stood still because they're already in the best spot. But within the streets of Edoras, the troops scattered around are rushing towards the walls. Now they don't know that there is a secret warband of the Wildmen in that building, so they're going to get surprised when they pop out. So the battle has well and truly begun with battle lines moving. As you can see, the horde of Uruk-hai have pushed forwards, but Ben, looks like some of them have stayed back. What are they about to do?
These crossbows have got good line of sight on these Rohan warriors. They've got pretty strong, fortified in the ways, but I think we can take them. These strength 4 crossbows are built to kill.
But before Ben shoots, we've got to go with Aldor. This is the old guy from the Siege of Helms Deep in the 2 Towers, and hilariously in that, he started the whole fight by accidentally shooting early, so he has a special rule that no matter what, he always fires first, and he rerolls all fail to hit and wounds.
We have an old fellow here with us who gets to shoot first. Let's see how he goes. He's going to eye up a nice Urukai at the front for good thematic reasons. That fellow there. We've got a hit.
He's hit.
Let's see what we can do to him.
And with the Isengard 6 manages to kill an Urukai. And the Urukai's crossbow fired back in force with a lot of shots, but the purpose-built fortifications provided a 5-up in the way for the Rohan defenders, so they managed to stay pretty safe, still losing 2 Rohan archers. 2 casualties from the Rohan defenders, and now it's their turn to shoot back.
The front guy, whatever. Nah, front. Got him.
Got him.
Take him out.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the way of the guys in front. Nope, hits a guy in front. And nothing this time.
Combined firing from the rest of the archers managed to take down one of the engineers carrying the battering ram, and then the King Huntsman fired, and he does pretty well here.
Got him.
Gets a kill. So after a bloody shooting phase, that takes us back into priority. No combats this turn. And goes to Rohan. The first of the defenders inside the city have made it to the gate, ready to hold it for when that battering ram bashes through, but Theoden and his Kingsguard are still at the doorway of the Golden Hall, and you can see them moving through the streets of the Kingdom of Saxonia building. Up on the walls, the Rohirrim managed to push down some of the ladders, and this is what the board's looking like at the end of Rohan's movement, still holding that wall. And into the Isengard's movement, the first Urukai jumped to the top of those ladders, ready to bring the fight to the defenders. Going to be interesting to see how many of them can push over the walls. And that battering ram jumps forwards. It's not hitting the gate this turn, but it'll get there next turn. Now, importantly, the demo charges have reached the walls. Now, those walls do have 6 wounds and need to be fully killed to all 6 wounds to break through them, and doing half the wounds will just break the walls partially. As you can see, Urukai have poured up those ladders, and the fight has begun, and there's a captain on top of that ladder there, and all of the Rohirrim archery is ready to shoot back. And we went straight into the shooting phase, and as many of the archers that could see this berserker as possible took aim and fired at him, because without that flaming brand there, it can only be detonated on the roll of a 6, and this is that battalion of archers firing down.
Right, we're gonna roll the
We've lost one of our berserkers. The only thing will save him is this. You shall not know pain.
Just roll over it.
Here it is. No.
Oh.
I think
He
Ben's made a
goes down.
mistake here. He should have rolled a 6.
And that's a massive loss, because that means that bomb most likely won't be detonated. The King Huntsman fired next, and he managed to take down an Urukai pikeman who was going to jump onto that battering ram next turn. The rest of the Rohan fired and did nothing, but the Isengard shot back, only killing 1 Rohan. And at the start of the combat phase, we do the demolition charges. So, Sam, we're starting with this one. You got to pass a courage test on that berserker to see if he lights the charge.
He does.
He does, and now roll a d6 on a 1. It's a dud. On anything else, it will explode. So it will explode, and roll a d6, see how many wounds it does. And that is 4 wounds to the wall. And 4 wounds is going to partially destroy this wall section. So we remove the full wall section, and we replace it with that partially destroyed one. I'm so happy with this walls, and I love playing on them. Also, unsurprisingly, these 2 warriors did die. And because the demo charge did 4 wounds, that will instant kill both of the engineers, but that berserker has a 6-up save. So if he can pass 4 6-ups, he will survive. Let's do it.
Roll 1 at a time.
Yeah, he's dead. So that moves on to the next demo charge. There's no flaming brand here, so one of these guys is going to have to pass a courage test and then get a natural 6 to detonate it. Sam, can you pass that courage test?
Of course.
That is a success. And now, can you roll a 6? No. So the demo charge stays there. So we've got a demo charge set up under a ladder here. Sam, do you plan on detonating that demo charge?
Oh, absolutely.
Alright. Well, there's no berserker there. So again, a courage test from those Urukai. They have failed, so it won't be detonating this turn. And in the first combat of the game, it's an Urukai trying to break over and fight the Rohan. So the Rohan have shielded. The Urukai's got a 5, but they've got a 6, so they have won that fight.
So, see,
The Urukai captain spent a point of might to kill a Rohan and get the first Uruk onto the wall. And that is the end of the combat phase. There's one Uruk inside the fortress and a big hole that's formed at the start of the Rohan wall. So that goes into next turn. Let's see the priority roll.
Ooh, evil.
Goes to the Uruks. A special rule for this scenario is that each time a Flaming Brand Berserker dies, they come back from the edge of the table. And this turn the battering ram has made it to the gate, ready to start putting wounds on it. Across the rest of the field, there was more Urukai climbing up ladders and everyone getting to the walls, with those crossbows staying back, ready to do some more shooting.
These Rohan defenders do not realize the infiltrators are ready to reveal themselves. The Rohan are at their direst moment, so out comes charging all these wildmen.
Now, I am just in love with how these buildings turned out. They were designed specifically with gaming in mind, so you'll find that they're super nice to play around. All these doorways are 25mm to allow infantry bases through them, and all of the surfaces are flat enough that you can balance models easily. I'm so happy with them.
Now, I'm not too impressed with this at the moment. Ben has hidden a bunch of wildmen in these buildings and has just revealed them and just said he had them at the moment, which I think is a load of rubbish. And now they're coming to attack us from the back when I was holding up that wall really well. So, look, David, your Rohan is going to have to hold up these wildmen entirely.
So, I've got no idea how this has happened. My captains checked those buildings personally. Their papers were in order, but here we are. Jeremy's doing his best to hold the wall, so it's going to be my job to tie down these wildmen that have sprung out of the snow like daisies.
And the Rohirrim are responding. They're definitely outnumbered at the moment, so they're going to need to bring more forces over here to stop the wildmen from overrunning them, just fighting around the streets of Edoras. And on the walls, you can see that fighting has broken out, and the Rohirrim have tried to respond to the Urukai on top as much as they possibly can.
Line up a shot against that flaming brand.
And I just love this moment. We can see the battering ram on one side of the gate with Urukai around it, and on the other side, the mustering defenders. The Royal Guard are running forwards from the Golden Hall. And in Isengard's shooting, these two crossbows managed to kill an archer. But that's all they got this turn. So now Rohan can fire back. And my favorite model up on the wall, the King's Huntsman, took a shot at the Urukai Berserker, and it cost him 2 points of might, but he managed to kill it, preventing one of those demo charges from exploding for another turn. The shooting phase over, that goes into the combat phase, and at the start of the combat phase, we have the demolition charges. Ben, which one's going first?
Well, these Urukai had a good shot at it last time. Let's see their courage test.
They've passed
It's
their courage
good.
test, so they need a 6. No,
One.
not good enough.
Disappointing. Again, no Flaming Brand in range this turn. Let's see their courage test.
It's
Fantastic.
good, and they need a 6.
We want this a 6 again.
No.
No. We have our Flaming Brand close next turn.
Next turn. So, that'll just go into the fighting.
I finally made my battering ram, has made it all the way to the gate. How battering ram works in sieges, we take the highest strength model who's holding the battering ram, so I've got a strength 4 model, and then any additional model after the first will give me +1 strength to the battering ram. So I've got strength 4, 5 extra models, that gives me a strength 9 hit. This well-built siege door is strength 10 with 3 wounds, so I'm needing 5s to wound, but the door always counts as being trapped, so I get to double my strike.
So, 2 dice, needing 5s, and it's got 3 wounds. Let's see it.
Just
There's
one this
one
turn.
wound, so it has 2 wounds remaining. The first combat is this Urukai captain trapped, fighting for Rohan. So, let's see how the Rohan and the Urukai go.
I am going to feint with all the... stab with all the Rohan that can. So the captain's not, but the other 3 will.
The Urukai captain is pretty sure that he'll stay alive with his defense 7, but he has definitely got a shield and he is going to use it.
Oh. And the Urukai captain's got a 6, he is fight 5.
Point of might from the Rohan?
No. Enjoy your 1 turn of living.
And the fights from here just went down the walls, starting off with an Urukai dying, and then the Urukai being pushed down the hole that they just burst through the wall there, so they still need to break through. The Urukai won several combats here, but remember you need to win the combat and kill your opponent to jump over the wall, so they didn't quite manage to get those 2 ladders over, and another Urukai was slain on top of his ladder there, followed by another one on the other side. In the streets of Edoras, a wildman was slain and a feral Uruk-hai was just pushed back. Overall, this turn inside went well for the Rohan because they managed to push back another wildman and they lost 2 fights but didn't take any more casualties. And that's the end of the turn. So that goes to priority. Let's see the roll.
5, 6.
Goes Rohan. And in Rohan's move, they made their greatest efforts to push down the ladders off the wall. But remember, because they're moving first, the Uruk-hai will get a chance to put them back up in their movement. And while David was addressing the wildmen inside the city, Jeremy was fighting on the walls. The Royal Guard inside the city moved forward to hold the gate when that battering ram breaks through. And that goes to the Isengard move phase. And another flaming brand enters the battlefield from the back of the table, ready to run towards this demolition charge.
This Uruk-hai captain was pretty disappointed with the previous effort, so he's jumping on this battering ram himself and calling extra reinforcements to come with him.
And the rest of the Uruk-hai's move involved moving these ladders back up the wall to continue the fighting. Inside the walls, some of the wildmen were running towards the back of the walls where there's ladders that your models can climb up. And the rest of those wildmen had poured out of the house, so we were able just to pop that roof back on. Nice and playable. In the shooting phase, this Uruk-hai Berserker was the target of all these archers, but he managed to survive. And the archers took some shots back from the Uruk-hai crossbows, but took no casualties. And at the start of the combat phase, which one's going first?
This one here.
Alright, so courage test from the Berserker. He's passed. Now, needs to roll a dice. On a 1, it's a dud. It's not a dud. All right. See how many wounds you do to that wall. It's a 4. So that is going to destroy the wall. And that will deal 4 wounds to each of the models within 2 inches of the bomb, which is going to kill those troops on top of the wall. So Sam, those engineers are dead. Can you take them down? And your Berserker takes 4 wounds. Can you pass 4 6-up saves? Unsurprisingly not, so he is dead as well. And now all 3 models on top of that wall section take 4 wounds. So that is going to slay all 3 of them. Do you want to take them down? And with the wall destroyed, we can just replace it with the destroyed section. And we have another demolition charge here, but there's no flaming brand, so we'll need to pass a courage test from the engineers. And they have failed, so it won't be detonating this turn. And now we're striking at the gate. That battering ram is striking at strength 10, so it's going to wound the gate on a 4. They've got 2 dice, and that gate has 2 wounds left. Ben, can you do it? And that will destroy the gate. And with this terrain, these gates actually open, so we're able just to push them open and allow the hordes of Uruk-hai to start pouring through into the Rohan defenders. But the Royal Guard and Theoden are there to hold the line. On top of the wall, some of the Uruk-hai are now starting to get a proper footing, getting off the top of their ladders. So the captain fighting off a horde of Rohan.
Up to you, man.
You gotta fight it, surely.
Yeah, he's gonna fight it.
6.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alright, so Jeremy, how many wounds can you do to the
Okay, I'm going
captain?
to double them up. Captain is yellow, and the red is the stabbing ones, who do not have to kill themselves. I need 6 across the board. Defense 7, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There is none at the moment, but 1 possible reroll, which should be enough to kill this captain, I imagine. Let's see. No wounds whatsoever.
So the captain has survived, still fighting on the wall. And in the streets of the city, the Dunlending captain managed to take down a warrior of Rohan, giving them a much needed numbers advantage. And then Rohan started to lose fights. They lost a big one where they outnumbered their opponent. And then a son of Aeol on foot also lost his fight and was pushed back. And then following that, another son of Aeol on foot lost his fight, was pushed back and slain by the 2-handing wildman who also had hatred, giving him a +2 to wound. Another warrior of Rohan was slain, not the turn Rohan wanted. So at the end of the turn, it's looking pretty good for Isengard at this point, but the Rohan still have their Royal Guard behind the gate, and Isengard still isn't fully over the wall, so anything could happen here. Alright, let's see priority. And that goes to the Isengard. Alright, so it's Isengard's priority, but Jeremy, what have you done here?
I've called a heroic move with the captain, because my aim is to be able to hold up this ladder and prevent the Uruk-hai going in. So our captain's going to call with me. He's going to move first. He's going to check who's in range. And I'm lucky enough to get this guy in range of it. So I'm going to move him into the captain to be heroic and intercept the captain and drag this guy off to prevent the Uruk-hai going through there.
And because that battering ram is no longer needed, it has been dropped and all these troops are disembarking from it and ready to run forwards. And the Royal Guard are ready to meet them. Here we can see 3 of our players gathered around this awesome Kingdom of Saxonia table, commanding the fighting in the streets. This is Isengard's move. As you can see, all of the ladders are stacked, but Ben's abandoned this one to send more troops through the gate. And the Wildmen have surged forwards, engaging as many Rohirrim as possible, taking us to Rohan move. So Jeremy, what's your thinking here?
I've got to engage these guys at the gate, so I'm going to throw as many Rohan as I can. I'm going to divert anyone here that can defend the walls, just to hold the walls another turn or two, because what I want to do is take on these Isengard piecemeal and hope there's no reinforcements there. The Wildmen have me really worried. I'm just going to have to hope my Rohan troops just turn up and kill them all.
And this is what it's looking like at the end of that move phase. They're trying to hold the gate, and it's looking dire in the city, but they're holding the wall for now, taking us into the shooting phase. And Rohan's shooting managed to take down just a single Uruk-hai. Isengard, do you have anything to shoot?
No, the Isengard can smell man flesh, so they are running forward at full speed. They want to get into combat. What we've done here, Jacob, we've lined up this bomb to destroy this section of wall. The only person on that section of wall currently is this Rohan captain. I'll roll my courage test for this berserker. Passes.
He's passed.
Does the bomb detonate?
It does. And how much damage does it do? Does 4 wounds to the wall. And that section of wall is destroyed. And the destroyed section goes in, and that captain has taken a wound and fallen into the gap, which at least means he can hold it for one more turn. Now, that'll kill those Uruk-hai engineers as well. And the pikemen, that's correct. And can that berserker pass 4 6-up saves?
He's not afraid.
He should have been. And he is dead. That'll take out the bomb as well. And within the streets of the city, it started off with a Rohan warrior being pushed back, and then 3 warriors of Rohan in a row died without damaging the Wildmen in return. On the walls, they managed to kill some of the Uruk-hai holding their line, which is exactly what the warriors on the walls need to do. They still took casualties, but they just need to hold as long as they can until their reinforcements can arrive. And that Uruk-hai captain did take out 2. Now, the main event at the gate. The Uruk-hai came storming in with a lot of pikes, and they won some of the fights, but they took casualties in return and didn't put a single wound on the royal guards. And Jeremy used his last point of might to call a heroic move because it was Uruk-hai's priority. This allowed him to engage more Uruks on the wall and hold the line a little bit longer. And the attackers kept their movement. Sam decided to run through the blacksmith to get his troops to the fight faster now that the Wildmen have claimed their opponents. And at the gate, Jeremy decided he would hold the line there for a few more turns before falling back to the Great Keep. The last archers started to come down from the watchtowers as well. And at the end of the movement phase, you can see that the walls are fully crumbling now. But where it matters, at the gate, the Rohan force is strong. They've rallied around their king and they're ready to repel the attackers. There's no more shooting phase at this point in the game because everything's fighting in combat, and Rohan lost 3 troops in the city to those Wildmen swarming over them. A warrior on the wall survived and then another one went down, but remember, they just want to stay alive as long as possible, so surviving a fight is a win for these Rohans. But more died, and the first royal guard died at the gates. Unfortunately, his combat followed him into death, then they won a fight and then lost 2 more. So, priority this turn goes to Rohan, and they really needed it here. Alright.
Uruk-hai going to call that heroic move. It's all important. We need to push forward out of that gate.
This captain will counter.
Alright, let's see the roll-off. 1, 2, 3 will go evil. And it goes to good. So that will cancel the heroic and goes to the normal Rohan move.
Hits.
Oh, that's going to definitely kill him.
Yep.
Oi!
Wildman hate throwing spears.
And he's going to attack this guy.
So the captain who is holding the gap has run out of the fortress and into the Uruk-hai.
Yep.
That's a pretty crazy plan. The last of the Rohirrim that are still fighting strong in the wall have decided to abandon it, just rushing to the gates. Now the Rohan throwing weapons did pretty well, managing to take down an Uruk-hai. And Theoden, even though he's worth points, has charged in, ready to strike up and hopefully kill that Uruk-hai captain. and more troops are streaming down onto the floor. But inside the city, the wildmen are running through the blacksmith to get there quicker, and more of them are just pushing forwards. And at the end of the move phase, Isengard are now pouring over the walls and through the village. There's wildmen in the blacksmith. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the Uruk-hai here. I think Jeremy's going to be planning to do a strike with his captains there and hopefully kill the Uruk-hai, because Theoden has still got full might.
So I'm going to do a strike with Theoden, takes him down to 2 might, and then the last point of might for this one we'll call a heroic combat.
All right. And Ben, do you have anything to counter that?
I think I'll countercall a heroic combat.
All right.
If my heroic combat goes first, it will negate Jeremy's combat from going.
And that goes to Good's heroic combat first. So let's see it. What is Theoden's fight value going to get up to?
It's up to
It's
4.
up to fight 9.
So fight 9, so he'll be able to feint.
The captain is going to shield. He wants to pull out extra might from these heroes.
I'm currently on a 6.
And
We are on a 4. We will banner reroll.
no
No,
matter
nothing.
what you get,
Got
does
the
not
higher fight
matter
value
because they've
with
got the
the
high
strike.
fight. So all these strikes are fighting and have been allocated to their heroes. So can you get the kill here? Needing 6s to wound.
First lot. There's
There's
2
2
wounds.
wounds.
I'm not spending any might on that. I'll roll the next lot.
And he is
Point
trapped.
of fate, otherwise I am removed from the board.
Here you are.
And
He is
he's
removed.
I'm going to
gone.
roll the other strikes anyway.
And takes
another
another wound.
This captain goes down.
All right.
So in this one, I've got a choice for throwing Theoden forward or the captain forward, basically, to engage that. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to move Gambling here, just to keep the banner effect going. I'm going to move the captain back a little bit and send Theoden in.
All right, so Theoden holding the line like a true king should. And throughout the rest of the combats, the Rohan managed to get some kills, but they took 1 casualty in return. But they just need to hold this gate for as long as they possibly can. On the walls, another Rohan warrior went down, but they did manage to win some fights, which is a good result for them. And the hero captain who's run out of the walls didn't kill anyone. This is the state after that turn, and let's see the priority roll-off.
2, 5.
Goes to Rohan in a time when it's going to be very helpful to them. So Jeremy, what's the plan here?
So I've got a couple choices. I'm going to be struck by these wildmen very soon. So I think it might be a staged retreat at the moment.
And in Jeremy's move, he started pushing his army back towards the Great Hall where they can make their final stand. If they can last long enough, the Rohan reinforcements will arrive and they can still win this game. They also need to keep Theoden alive, so he should be running back. But the evil is responding by just pushing their forces forwards. They actually managed to keep some of their crossbows still to get a few shots, and in the shooting phase they managed to get a cheap easy kill. And this is the state of the board after movement. As you can see, Theoden decided to hold the gate, very thematic, and going into combat, Rohan started off with killing a wildman, but evil responded by killing a warrior of Rohan. Now the gate went well. They took out numerous Uruk-hai, with Theoden getting a kill and some royal guard just being pushed back. The captain outside got pushed back. And with that, the last Rohan on the wall have been slain. It's just the soldiers defending the city, defending the gate, and they'll be falling back into the Great Hall. And priority goes to Rohan. Now Jeremy, will you be calling anything to get back faster here?
A heroic march of the captain.
Alright, and that's his move.
So I'm going to move some of these guys first to try and engage. Help out over here. Friend to help out over here. Friend to help out here. 3. 2. The rest are in range of the march. So they'll use it to basically head back to the hall, I think.
And this is our board after Rohan movement. They're falling back and it goes to Isengard. There was no surprise from the Isengard move. They just ran forwards. Jeremy had plenty of throwing spears in the shooting phase, but didn't manage to get any kills. So that takes us to the combat phase. So Hama calling a heroic combat. Alright, well we'll start with that fight. Rohan have lost this fight and are pushing back. A sad loss, but that's okay. And the rest of the few combats went alright for Rohan. They managed to kill a wildman, and that's it. So that took us into priority, and Jeremy called a heroic move with Hama and the captain because Isengard got priority. And Jeremy took the initiative here, and he actually ran forwards into combat. I was expecting him to run backwards, so this was an interesting play, but he's trying to do damage. And the other side of the army has opened up the Golden Hall so they can fall back inside it. I'm so glad the battle is ending here. It just looks awesome. That is the board after Rohan's movement, so it goes into the Isengard. They've got a lot of chasing to do, and it looks like the final battle will be in the Golden Hall. And the Uruk-hai just rushed forwards, trying to close the distance between them and the Rohan. And there's a thin green line holding back the tide of wildmen, buying time for their lord to get into Edoras. And that'll go into the combat phase. And the combat started off with a Rohan dying and then the Dunland chieftain going down. We need to remember that Rohan's goal here is to stay alive as long as possible so they can score maximum points at the end of the game, and the end of the game is coming up soon. Priority went to Isengard, and Hammer has called a heroic move. Hammer has pulled back closer to the fortress and ready to receive a charge from the horde of Uruk-hai and Wildmen. So at the end of the move phase, the walls have clashed, but importantly, this Rohan captain who before we saw jumping down the wall is still alive. There's no Uruk-hai left outside the castle, so he's coming back in to continue fighting. And the lines clashed in the combat phase with lots of combats and both sides taking losses. The difference is Rohan can't afford those losses. And here is the line after the combats. Rohan definitely took some casualties this turn. Aldor took a wound, but his fate passed it, and the King's Huntsman also took a wound. Now this captain used a point of might to kill an Uruk-hai, but he's within 3 inches of Gambling's banner, so he'll get it back at the start of next turn. That takes us into priority. Goes evil. Jeremy, will you be calling any heroics?
This captain who's just got it back, he's going to call it, and luckily he gets everyone.
And at the end of Jeremy's movement, everything's just tied up. He's trying to hold them outside of the Golden Hall, so that goes into evil's move, but importantly, this Rohan captain is slowly making his way towards the fight. And evil's move has gotten enemy models inside the building, so they're going to be able to run in and attack the heroes from behind. And other than that, it's just a big mess of fights. Going into shooting, does evil have any shots here?
We've got a couple of shots.
And these 2 crossbows fired back at the Rohan captain, who took a wound, and it's a fate point to stay alive. And he is alive. And in the fight phase, Gamling called a heroic combat, killed his opponent, and then went to fight another Uruk-hai, and the King Huntsman was with that fight, so he got to move and fight again as well. Jeremy's just trying to use all his resources now. And then in the combats, unfortunately, the Rohan Hornblower went down, losing the courage across the whole board, and then another warrior died after him. And Gamling managed to slay another Uruk-hai. And it's Theoden fighting 2 Uruk-hai. Theoden's on a 3. He's got a banner reroll. To a 6, so he has won it. Can Theoden kill those 2 Uruk-hai? No. And that was the last combat of the turn, so it'll take us straight into priority.
Mine, gone.
Goes to Rohan. Alright, and evil has no might, so there's nothing they can do about that. The first of the Uruk-hai are in the Great Hall, and they need 5 models in there to claim it, so I'm guessing Jeremy's going to try to get him out. One Rohan runs back into the building to fight a feral.
Eldor's going to go hide over here.
He's already lost his fate point.
Yep, he's going to go over here.
They're fighting to the last.
They're
doing what they're meant to do.
Charge forward heroically.
And this is Rohan after the movement. Now, Gamling's banner restored a might point on this captain here, and everyone else is just fighting where they can with a fight inside the Golden Hall and combats all around. So that takes us into evil's movement. And Isengard didn't have a lot to move. They just spun their crossbows around, ready to take aim at that captain. This is potentially the last turn of the game, and it is looking tight here. That'll go into the shooting phase, and there is a lot of shooting here. Looks like there's 6 crossbows all taking shots at the one heroic captain with 1 wound and no fate left. Can they finish him off?
So one's got some in the ways, everyone else is 2 shots.
Alright. And that 6, was that the one within the ways? Or was
yes, that's
Alright.
Gets through the first bit, hits the second.
Hits the second bit, so the captain has survived.
It's going well. So I'm going to use a heroic defense on Gambling and just try and survive this turn. I think the rest of them will just save their might for the combats and hope they can win and survive this turn.
Alright, and hopefully this is the last turn because it looks like a crushing force there if it goes for much longer.
It's not good if I don't get through this turn.
And unfortunately, Aldor was slain. But the captain followed that by killing 2 Uruk-hai.
I'm going to go for gambling.
6.
I'll take a reroll from gambling's banner.
Alright, and Gambling has lost, but it's only natural 6s to wound him. And none there, so he is still safe.
Yeah, nice. Let's go for Hammer. 5. I'll take a banner.
And Hama has won that. Can Hama kill them?
So he's against the Feral and a Pike, and they're both the same defense, so I'll prioritize the Feral. Got the Feral.
The last combat is Theoden fighting 2 Uruk-hai.
Keep him alive.
So the Uruk-hai have set the bar on a 2, Theoden's 1
Nice.
on a 4.
Okay.
It's not
That's
good.
That's good.
Can he get the kill? He can
gets,
kill one of them.
Yep. So I'll take out the crossbow.
And at the end of this turn, Aemir will arrive with his relief force on a
I'm definitely
4
gonna
up.
get this.
Let's
Watch
see
this.
it.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
a 6! And with that roll, Aemir and his retinue have arrived to relieve the siege. So with that, that means that the battle is over, but unfortunately the Uruk-hai managed to claim the walls and the city, as well as killing 50% of the Rohan, so this is overall an Uruk-hai victory. If you like this terrain, make sure you go and check out the Kickstarter where you can get the whole entire set in the form of digital STLs. Thanks for watching.